In any multiracial society, it is harder to be a minority than a majority. This is so everywhere in the world. I believe the majority community in Singapore understands this. So I ask that we do more and take the extra step to make our minority friends, neighbors, co-workers feel comfortable. Treat others in the way you would like to be treated, and by your actions, teach your children to do the same. Remind those among your family members or friends who may slip up from time to time. At the same time, I'm grateful that minorities have reciprocated by recognizing that the majority community has legitimate needs and concerns too. In this regard, it is important to realize that the Chinese community in Singapore is not monolithic. Sometimes people talk about Chinese privilege in Singapore. There may well be biases or blind spots that the Chinese community should become aware of and to rectify. But please understand that we still have a whole generation of Chinese Singaporeans who are more comfortable in Chinese than English and who consider themselves at a disadvantage in an English-speaking world. They feel they have already given up much to bring about a multiracial society. Chinese language schools, Nanyang University, dialects, and so on. What do you mean by Chinese privilege, they were asked, for they do not feel privileged at all. Naturally, many of them would object to being so characterized. So it is important for the majority community in Singapore to do its part and be sensitive to and conscious of the needs of minorities. This cuts across all aspects of daily life. It matters to someone who faces discrimination when looking for a job. It matters when someone feels left out, when everyone else in a group speaks in a language that not all can understand. It matters to potential tenants who learn that landlords do not prefer their race. It matters to our students, neighbors, co-workers, and friends who have to deal with stereotypes about their race or insensitive comments. These things do happen. Not always, and perhaps not even often, but sometimes they do. And when they do happen, they cause real hurt, which is not erased by lightly dismissing them as casual remarks or jokes. We must continue with our approach of mutual accommodation, trust, and compromise. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that we should refrain from voicing our unhappiness or that minority Singaporeans should pipe down about the prejudices they experience. On the contrary, we should be upfront and honest about the racialized experiences various groups feel and deal squarely with them. The government will continue to engage widely and to update our policies on race, as well as other policies that help to strengthen racial harmony in Singapore. Ours is not the French way, insisting on assimilation into one master language and culture, speak French, accept French ways, and assimilate into French society. Instead, we decided to preserve, protect, and celebrate our diversity. Hence, we encourage each community to take pride in its own cultures and traditions. At the same time, we seek common ground among our communities and aim to expand our common space and strengthen our shared sense of belonging and identity. I might quote here what Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said in 2017 at the opening of the Singapore Chinese Cultural Centre. It encapsulates well how our model of multiracialism is not to be confused with French universalism or the American melting pot. We are a multiracial, multi-religious, and multicultural society, the Prime Minister said. This diversity is a fundamental aspect of our respective identities. Our aim is integration, not assimilation. No race or culture in Singapore is coerced into conforming with other cultures or identities, let alone that of the majority. Ours is not a melting pot society. Instead, we encourage each race to preserve its unique culture and traditions while fostering mutual appreciation and respect among all of them. Being a Singaporean has never been a matter of subtraction but of addition, not of becoming less but more, not of limitation and contraction but of openness and expansion. The question of race has been a fundamental issue from the beginning. To put it simply, if race did not pose an existential challenge, Singapore would never have separated from Malaysia, and we would never have become an independent sovereign state. I know not all agree with the policies we have put in place. For example, some believe the GRC system is not necessary, as Singaporeans can be trusted to vote for the best candidates of whatever race without the aid of the GRCs. But look at the United States, another polyglot society. There, the courts have intervened to ensure electoral districts with built-in majorities of African Americans and Hispanics, so as to have diverse representation in their legislatures. In Singapore, because we want racially integrated rather than segregated housing, we no longer have constituencies with built-in majorities of Indians and Malays. Instead, we have the GRC system to ensure at least a minimum number of minority legislators in Parliament. And let us move forward with a spirit of mutual respect and fellowship, educating each other about what matters to us, helping each other understand our different cultures, and finding the common stake we all have in one another. We must have the humility to acknowledge our multiracialism is still a work in progress, the honesty to recognize that not everyone will want to move at the same pace, and yet persevere to protect our multiracialism, cherish it, nurture it, strengthen it. Then step by step, we can approach ever more closely to our ideal, one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion. Thank you.